Unusual locations can hold your dearest companions. A dog, forsaken in a forest, clutched a letter in its mouth. When an old man discovered and read it, tears cascaded down his face. Join us to uncover the letter's heartfelt message. After losing his beloved wife, Rodney Bloom faced a dilemma when his children insisted he move to the city, a prospect he couldn't fathom. Residing near a serene forest with his faithful companion, King, whom he had cherished for 11 years, Rod relished their daily walks in the peaceful woods. The bustling noise of the city overwhelmed him, making even short visits unbearable. Moving there permanently was out of the question, for it felt like a betrayal to his late wife's memory. She had adored King, treating him like her own child. Rodney had gifted her the puppy when their youngest child started school, and King had been a constant source of comfort during her illness. During her bedridden days, the loyal dog would curl up beside her, offering solace as she gently rested her hand on his fur. Now, as King grew older, Rodney believed he deserved to spend his remaining years in the familiar surroundings he knew and loved, as the city lacked the gardens and open spaces that King cherished. It was true that he wasn't doing much playing anymore, but he loved to lay outside on the cool grass and watch the neighbors walk past. He also loved going into the forest to look for squirrels. King missed Rod's wife as fiercely as Rod did, but at least Rod could give him all the things he enjoyed doing. They helped each other through a very difficult time. They'd always walked the same path each day and often met the same people on their walk. These people all knew King by name, and they would stop to ask how Rod and King were doing. It was sweet of them. None of them seemed to find it strange that Rodney spoke to King like a friend as far as they walked. When you've been through so much together, you do become friends, even if you're from two different species. The dog understood everything, but Rod found that they had to take shorter walks each day. King was getting tired and his old legs couldn't handle the terrain anymore. Rod had a great idea. He bought a children's toy wagon that was big enough to carry King. From then on, he put King in the wagon when they went out, and both of them could still enjoy the fresh air and getting out of the house. King was getting old. He couldn't see properly anymore, and he didn't always hear when Rod was calling him, but for a while he still seemed pretty healthy, or at least that was what Rodney tried to convince himself. He couldn't imagine his life without his dog. In some ways, King was one of the last links to the life he had had with his wife. If the dog was gone, then their life together would completely disappear too. Nothing would be the same and Rodney would be left all alone, but just because something is sad and feels unfair doesn't mean that you can avoid it. One day, as Rod was getting dressed for their daily walk, he heard King whimpering in pain. The dog was on his side and he couldn't move. Rodney wasn't sure if it was because his legs weren't working or just because he was in so much pain, but he could see that his faithful companion was in desperate need of emergency care. The dog was big, and Rod was already an old man. Even if he was still healthy, he wouldn't be able to carry King all the way to the vet. Luckily, he had the wagon that they used on their walks. He put the dog inside, and as quickly but gently as he could, he pulled King to the vet's offices in town. They were pretty full, but they took one look at the desperate dog who was curled up in pain, and they quickly took him back to the treatment room. It turns out King's stomach had turned, and he was in an incredible amount of pain. The vet told Rodney that they might be able to fix the problem with surgery, but if it happened again, then there would be nothing they could do. Still, King was an older dog, and they recommended that they let him go. Rodney wasn't ready to do that yet. He told them to go ahead with the surgery, even if it was risky. He kissed his dog's head and sat outside the entire time they were busy with King. Finally, the doctor came out and gave him the good news. King made it, but she warned him again that the next time they wouldn't be able to help. King soon came home and Rod made sure that the dog had the happiest time of his life. He spent all his time with the dog, taking him on walks in his wagon twice a day. Rod just loved him dearly. He knew they were on borrowed time and made the best of every second, but when the dreaded day came, he still wasn't ready. King was once again in tremendous pain. This time the vet explained that he was too weak to even consider surgery. It was time to let his old friend go. Rodney stayed with him until he went to sleep, and then the tired and heartbroken old man had to pull an empty wagon back home. His children came out to see him and once again asked him to move in with him, but Rod didn't want to do that. He explained that he didn't want to leave his house in the town that he adored, but in reality, he also didn't want to become a burden to his children. He knew that they all had their own lives and he didn't want to get in the way. They also offered to get him a new puppy, but Rodney wasn't ready for that either. He knew that he would have to train the pup, and that was a lot of hard work besides, and felt too soon to think about replacing King. He put on a brave face, but when they went home, he felt more alone than he had ever felt in his life. The house felt massive and everything just felt sad. His wife had been gone for a few years, but now it felt completely final. Not one to give up on life. Rodney forced himself to get out of bed each day and go outside. He went for the same walk that he always took, but it didn't quite feel the same doing it on his own. There were a lot of people who would say hello to him and who would ask him how he was, but he didn't want to make small talk with people. He did get to pet a few dogs, and that made him happy. He was desperately lonely, but he believed that as long as he continued with life, that he would find his way out of the depression he was feeling. Nights were hardest when he found himself in the house all alone, but he kept going. Then one day as he was walking along his normal route, he heard low whimpering. He checked it out, and among the grass lay a dog tied to a tree with a ladder in his mouth. Rodney looked around, but there wasn't anybody in sight. The dog was left with a bowl of water, but it looked like he had been abandoned. Rodney quickly untied him, and the dog jumped up and, tail wagging, licked Rod in the face. He was so happy to see a person that Rod just had to laugh at his joy. To his astonishment, the dog carried a letter addressed to Rodney. As he read its contents, tears welled up in his eyes. The letter revealed that the dog's name was Luca, and his owner, facing financial struggles, could no longer care for him. Having witnessed Rodney's devoted care for his own aging dog, the owner implored him to give Luca the love and attention he deserved. Rodney searched for the owner to offer assistance, but the mystery remained unsolved. Nevertheless, he quickly formed a deep bond with Luca, becoming the best of friends. Though unaware of the sender's identity, Rodney would forever hold gratitude for the precious gift he had received. I hope you liked this video. Please give us thumbs up and consider to share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.